Blumhouse is back at it again, and this time they have a horror film called Afraid. This is their third film that they've released this year, in which they've released Night Swim already and Imaginary. Imaginary was pretty bad, Night Swim was mediocre, and now you have this film, and I have to tell you guys, this is the worst film yet. Curtis Pike and his family are selected to test a new home device, a digital assistant called Aya. Aya observes the family's behaviors and begins to anticipate their needs, and she can and will make sure nothing and no one gets in her family's way. The film stars Johncho, Katherine Waterston, Keith Carradine, Havana Rose Liu, Lukita Maxwell, and David Dastmalchian, and was directed by Chris Weitz, and he's done films like The Golden Compass and also Twilight Saga's New Moon. When I saw the trailer for Afraid and saw that it was being produced by Blumhouse, my first thought was, oh no, another Blumhouse film. This year has been a very rough year for them, and I had pretty much no confidence in this movie, mainly because of the fact it's coming out on one of the deadest months of the year, and the fact that it's had pretty much no marketing whatsoever. I think they only released one trailer for this, which is very odd. Most of the time, most movies get at least 2 trailers, and this film only got 1 trailer. The fact that John Cho was in it really did, intrigue me to go check out this movie, and I'm always willing to give a horror movie a chance. And with this film, I'll start off by saying this in the positives, which I'm very much reaching in this film for positives. But the movie is only about 75 minutes, so that's really good that it has a rather short runtime. I like the fact that David Dastmalchian is on screen here. He doesn't have a big role, as in a lot of films he usually doesn't, but it was great to see him on screen. And then a couple times in this film, I think Aya does have a few little jokes here and there. She has a joke where she actually talks about Siri, and I did find that kind of funny. But other than that, that's really all the positives I have for this film. I would go on record that this is probably one of the most laziest films to release this year in theaters. The premise centralizes on this character named Curtis, played by John Cho. He is a marketing assistant, and his boss wants him to take on this new client in which they're offering this artificial intelligence person named Aya. She is going to make their lives better. Obviously, she definitely does act like a Siri, but she does other things, and she really digs into their lives. She helps out diagnose a illness in one of the kids, and she also orders basically like a Hello Fresh meals to help with groceries, and she's really just helping out the children. But she also has a dark side to her as well, as she gets involved in John Cho's daughter's life, in which she has a very much jerk boyfriend that ends up leaking this AI video that looks like she's in a porno, and she really becomes the laughing stock of the high school. And you really see, obviously, Aya here really get involved, and she really starts to really take control and have her really just protect this family and really start to do some dark things within the film. The problem for me in this film, of what I didn't like about it, is it's very slow, it's very boring, there's no tension. For a PG-13 film, there's not a lot going on here. It takes a long time before really anything happens as far as dark with Aya here. Obviously you're establishing the family and everything, but I think the problem is with the runtime here, everything is just jammed together. It's very much rushed. The ending of this film makes no sense whatsoever. I was just in awe as this film actually ended, because I was like, what did I actually watch? It was rushed. There were scenes in here where they have these people that have these masks, and they have like little emotion faces with these masks, and they're in this trailer, and they're outside of the house. And you have John Cho's character that obviously sees them, and they don't really do a whole lot with them. There's also a missing girl that actually is taken within the beginning of the film, which does start off the film with just a little bit of tension, but it quickly dissolves. And the problem is too, there's nothing scary in this film. I mean, I was just waiting for maybe a cheap jump scare, just because you expect it with PG-13 films, but they don't even have that with this film as well. There's no boo or anything like that. There's a couple little dream sequences that John Cho's character actually has, but they just don't play out that well. And the way that this film is structured, the dialogue here is like a Lifetime movie in a horror film. It is just really that bad, especially the fact when you have the girl's boyfriend here, who is obviously a jerk, and obviously, you know, he planned this video and got it out to the high school. Some of his dialogue where he talks about he needs a lawyer, I was just laughing. There's a scene where Curtis, he's talking to one of the founders of this company of Aya. There's a character played by Havana Rose Liu. She is a character named Melody, and she also voices Aya as well. And she talks to him about family, and there's this very much cringe dialogue scene where they talk about family. And there's also this romance portion that they really try to force on the audience later on in the film, and I was like, I'm not buying this whatsoever. It seems to me like this film, it just has a lot of ideas that never really translate onto the film as a whole, and the fact that it has a very short runtime, none of this stuff can really get developed, so it's very messy, it's jumbled up into one. And it's not really a horror film whatsoever. I would say it's like a science fiction kind of film with like the littlest hints of horror. The body count here is very low, and by the time the film actually wraps up, you are just ready to walk out of the theater, which I definitely was. The best part of this film is the fact that it's only 75 minutes, but the fact of how this film is just so messy, from the dialogue to the writing to just how the story is told as a whole and just how the characters act, I did not like it whatsoever. It was one of the worst experiences that I've had this year going to a theater. So as far as a score for this film, I would give it a half star out of 5. I would say right now this is probably in the bottom 5 of the worst movies that I've seen this year. This is just a swing and a miss. It just doesn't capitalize on what it's trying to do. There's too many ideas. There's too many things that you see on screen and you're wondering like, what happened to that character, or what are we doing here? Like, it seems like a lot of things in this film is very insignificant into actually building a story. It's just too sloppy. It's too messy. It's too lazy. And honestly, I would be embarrassed if I was a part of this film, because it is just not a film that needed to be in theaters, and it needed to go through rewrites, reshoots, a lot of different things to really make this a film of actually making sense and actually coming together. What did you guys think about Afraid? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? If you haven't checked it out yet, are you going to check it out in a theater, or are you going to check it out on VOD or streaming? I would advise to just skip this altogether. I think it's a waste of your time. But if you want to laugh, you want bad dialogue, and you want no horror whatsoever and a low body count, this is the film for you. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.